What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video and today with a guide for Brawl 1 of this season's last Relentless Rumble. We are fighting Smokey and Murky this time, and this turned out to be a lot more interesting than I thought it would be, because Smokey and Murky, well, they are just a healer, so I thought, well, okay, yeah, just going to hit through somehow, and it was a little bit more interesting than I thought. So I brought you 3 teams today that we're going to take a look at, 3 very different teams, and we are also going to talk about some heroes that you can slot in case you're lacking 1 or 2 heroes. So, the score that I got was 58. I tried to go for 59, didn't work out. Gave it a lot of attempts, but maybe throughout the next days, throughout the next Brawls, I will try this again, get some better RNG and go for 59. We'll see at least on the Brawl 3 guide. So starting off with the first team, and I have to say, we have very different approaches today. So this team includes Talene and Wraec. In case you don't have them, the next ones that I show you won't. So it's not a problem if you don't own them. This team has the idea of just being a brute force approach, and we want to make use of the Hugin buff here. As you know, Hugin buffs the hero that is standing right behind him, so we want to put Talene there. Usually if you have it slotted right as it is there, she will just do her ult in this position and won't move, but you can also do it with a manual cast. We can take a look at that. So if you want to manually cast the Talene ult to make sure she's standing behind him to get the buff from this effect tile, you want to wait till she has her ult full and then click on Hugin. Not on the tile behind him, you want to click on Hugin. Somehow, if you click on the tile behind Hugin, she will actually be one tile behind that, so not on this glowing effect tile that you really want to have. And you can see, well, we are pretty much clearing all of them fairly easily. Throughout the first 40 kills, this team really doesn't struggle at all. It really becomes interesting once we get to, like, kill 50, I reckon. Then they become really tanky, and if they heal each other, yeah, it becomes relevant which hero Wraec attacks, because Talene alone won't be able to clear them at all. And there are some ways to circumvent the healing, to interrupt their healing, and we are going to look at those also after this fight. But for now, let's see if we can get a better score. Maybe we get the 59 in this video. This would be great. Doesn't really look like it, I'll be honest, because we need like 1 Wraec ult to get a clear. And yeah, this is a little bit of a problem there. So maybe 1 more, I guess. Yeah, 57. Not the 58 though. Could have worked out to 58, but this is really kind of rare to get to 58 even. I doubt we are even going to be able with this team to get to 59, but I will still try. So this was the first team. Now for the weakness of Smokey and Murky. Well, the effect, by the way, that we have is increase 1000 initial energy. I was initially afraid that we might fight him with the Mythic Plus effect, where after the 3rd ult he activates his blue smoke, which could clear our heroes, but it's not the case. So it doesn't really do too much damage. Nonetheless, can deal a little bit of damage. We'll see it on the next skill card. The one thing that you have to know about Smokey and Murky is his skills depend on a passive ability, because his ult has an active and a passive part. The passive part is activated right at the start of the battle and is the smoke area. And this smoke area allows him to heal the allies. And if we want to interrupt that, there is a way. It says, if interrupted, Smokey and Murky lose the aroma and cannot recreate it for 4 seconds. So how do we interrupt it? Well, the description describes it here fairly well. Basically, you want to CC him in some way. And if you do so, you will not only get an interruption for the time of the CC effect, but you can also not recreate it in 4 seconds. So even beyond the CC effect, we have some time to clear those smokies. So what we can of course now do is we can go back into the fight and we can slot a new team. And this is by far the easiest comp that you can have, because this is just an iron comp. Classic iron comp with a smoky in there. We have an Ulmus, and this can also do fairly well. It does substantially less kills than the other team, but nonetheless you can see once we get our iron ult up, the smoke from the other ones vanishes. You see the symbol above the smoky. This is every time they are interrupted. And also Arden can interrupt them. He has a passive ability that entangles 2 enemies. And then we have the ult of Carolina, which can freeze enemies, and this was even in the description, so this also interrupts them. And furthermore, we get an additional, I think it was it 1.5 seconds of CC whenever an enemy is moved through Ulmus, so that's also pretty good. And also if Ulmus hits the ground with his ult, that will also interrupt them. So we have many different ways to do that. And our Smokey, I mean, he can't interrupt the other Smokies, but he is at Mythic Plus, or in my case beyond that, and thus able to also do some damage here. So this is pretty good. And 40 kills, I think, is the threshold at which we get the full rewards. And you can see, while of course the heroes that I use here are fairly powerful, we are able to get there and even a little bit beyond. So worked out pretty well, and we don't have to struggle with the heals too much. I mean, you see that these circles or that the effects are not active of those Smokies most of the time. So even with a little bit of older heroes there, aside from the Ulmus, we are able to get a pretty good result and get all of our loot. Let me confirm that it's really 40 here. 35, yeah, 40. It was 40, so perfect. Then for another team. And our friend Burial can also be returned for this. This is a little bit crazy. Take this more as a fun team. It works though. It works fairly well. So let's take a look at it. And it also looks cool while doing it. So I thought that's perfect for a video if you want to show a pretty cool team. So with Burial, of course, we are able to summon shadows of enemies that stand a little bit apart. And in this case, those Smokies, they do that. Furthermore, we are able to buff the Smokies with our Cassidy, and this brings an interruption effect also through our skills. She has like this flood skill. How is it called? We are going to take a look at it in a second. And this can also interrupt the Smokies actually. So we have the possibility here to interrupt them most of the time, and you can see they are almost all the time interrupted in this build. And we're already at 44, 46, 47. So resonating spell on Cassidy is really important for this. And then it becomes kind of a madness. I tried including Wraec into this, it didn't really work out. The damage in general is a little bit lower than on the Igor teams that we tried. But still, I love how crazy it is. I love how crazy it is. 54, I think I got to 55 once with this. This was like the cap, but 54 is absolutely crazy for this team. So really nice. No Taldeen, no Wraec, a Burial, which probably most players sadly don't have, but pretty crazy. So the skill that I was talking about was Undercurrent. Undercurrent is basically every time triggered once we have her on like our Mythic Plus. And there we want the plus 10. Cast Undercurrent an enemy who has taken 6 hits from Tidal Strength. And Undercurrent knocks them into the air, and this also interrupts Smokey. So if you have a Cassidy plus 10 and the Burial, you can try this team, and well, it works fairly well. Let's talk about a few heroes that you can slot in case, well, those weren't really working for you. One major choice is of course Alsa. Alsa not only has a stun, which is pretty cool, but also major synergy with Resonating Spell in case you want to make a build around that, because, well, she does a ton of ults and her ults stun, so that's pretty good, and also works in CC teams. So if you don't have a Carolina, for example, you could slot in an Alsa, that will work for you. Then we already talked, well, you can always do Lily May, really. Lily May, always a choice. And then beyond that, everything that really does CC, maybe you have a Cessia. Honestly, a Cessia works. A Cessia, she has multiple ways of CC. That will work. Will not be perfect, but a Cessia is definitely an option. And then there is one more that a lot of you guys probably don't think of, and I don't even, it's one of the rare heroes that I don't have max, but Lumont is actually pretty cool, because he will run across the battlefield and move those Smokies away and pile them all together, move them across the map, and they don't like that. They will be interrupted all the time. So this is actually a case where Lumont is one of the better heroes. Of course, if you want smaller teams, Sharky can always go for a buff. And what I also try to do, and this is a fairly interesting one, but I won't show it in this video, because, well, it's not perfect really with Dunlinger. Dunlinger has the ability to Cure Lock. Cure Lock allows, basically blocks enemies from recovering HP for others. So what he can do, as long as his Bell of Order is active and his command is in effect, he can block the Smokies from healing each other, which is very, very cool. The problem is it only lasts for like 6 seconds, and it just gives you this brief window in which you can attack fairly, fairly well, but wasn't quite able to get me the top score, so that is something to keep in mind. I tried Brian as well. The interruption effect, in my opinion, wasn't worth it. A very good hero as well is Florabelle. Florabelle, with her ult, has a massive CC, and with the minions you will also be able to get a ton of damage. So those were really like the heroes that I want to show. I tried Lenya, by the way. Oh, one more! Nearly forgot it. Tazi. Of course, Tazi works. In my opinion, she takes a little bit too long between her ults. I prefer Florabelle over her, I'll be real. But Tazi still can do fairly decent damage, so is an option for you. I hope this guide helped you. Stay tuned definitely for the guides for the second and third Brawl, as those are also coming up, and I will do a video on them. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and with that I wish you a great day, and we'll see us in the next one.